our goal is to be the largest security company in the world. And I think we're at number 8 right now. We've only been around since technically 2003. Really franchised in 2008. If you look at our competitors, they've been around for hundreds of years. And we're already number 8. As you get bigger, it's harder to, especially if you have multiple markets, you can't be everywhere at once. I can't be on every call. I can't be on every email. I can't be in every meeting. So I need those people that I can trust to be in there. And I don't think you can do that right unless you invest in them. The way the world was going towards law enforcement, it was a different aspect of, it's like, do I really want to do that job, or do I want to potentially do this job and have just a way better lifestyle and fulfilling mission, I mean, it's not like a high-end glamorous job. I mean, it's usually a stepping stone. People want to go in law enforcement, or people just like it because they like to protect people, But I mean, people get spit on in our job. We get yelled at a lot. We get shot at. We were at the Kansas City parade when that happened. When you interview someone, all the basic stuff's already been answered. You've already seen that, what their hours are available, that they're okay with pay, that when they can start. You've already seen all that. So we train our team now to more like have just a conversation with them when they come in. Get to know them,
To me, what's interesting and what I find so often to be the case is the folks that I talk to that have some of the most successful businesses or the biggest businesses, they're in it for the... All right, so this guy started out as a part-time employee for a franchisee, and then he eventually buys him out and becomes one of the top franchisees in the entire system. So in this episode, we break down how he did it. Mike Lowry is a multi-unit franchisee who owns multiple markets: Tulsa, Oklahoma, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. The fact that he started out as a part-time employee for the franchisee in Tulsa is pretty wild, but it's not surprising because Mike is a combat veteran of the United States Army and deployed overseas to Iraq and Afghanistan multiple times. So we know that Mike has a rock-solid mindset. We know he's a tough guy. But Mike has a pretty large business with over 200 employees, 14 vehicles in multiple different markets that are hours and hours away from each other. So this is a really fun episode where Mike and we just chatted as like friends, talking shop, and basically him revealing exactly how he structures and runs his entire business operation, his franchise empire. We talked about hiring and how to find the best talent and red flags to look for when hiring people. We talked about how he's negotiated vesting schedules and partnerships as he's bought out different franchisees and how he uses that to incentivize his key employees. This is really an awesome episode and a rare insight into how a wildly successful franchisee runs their business. You get the inside look. Now, if you want to buy or grow a franchise in the next 12 months, you should check out our free resources at franchiseempire.com. And if you want to work with me and my team on finding or buying a franchise or resale business, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory, and you can schedule a free call to see what's available in your area. The link is also in the description below. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Franchise Empire Show. They say Rome wasn't built in a day, and building your empire doesn't happen overnight. My name is Tarek Johnson, and owning franchises is what helped me go from employee to employer and start building my empire for my family. So this podcast is for you, the empire builders. For those of you who want to build something that stands the test of time. This is for those of you who are crazy enough to believe that you can make the dream in your head come to life. This podcast is all about bringing you real people who are building real empires so you can get inside their mind and heart and get proven strategies and actionable insights that will catapult you to build, grow, and scale your empire. Well, welcome to another episode of the Franchise Empire Show. I have Mike here, multi-unit franchisee. Thanks for coming on, man. I'm excited to chat.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Look forward to it.
Yeah. So give us a breakdown of so you own a Signal security franchise, multiple. I think it's kind of interesting because you own various different territories. So I'm looking forward to kind of breaking that down and how you manage that, because I know from experience that having a franchise that is not in your geographic area is not the easiest thing to deal with. But just give us first a quick snapshot of what it is that you do, what is your business, and then we can kind of start from there.
Yeah, so Signal Security, we were founded in 2003, started franchising in 2008. We were founded as Signal 88 Security, but we went through a rebrand a couple years ago into Signal as we've grown global. The reason why Signal 88 we're founded in Omaha, Nebraska, was police code for situation secure. It means something different everywhere. So as we continue to grow in different states and other countries and everything, it was a lot cleaner just to have one name. So we provide security officer services. A lot of people think camera when they think of security, but we actually provide physical security. So think of security officers, whether they're on-site, roving patrol. Our clients range from apartment, multifamily homes, HOAs, commercial sites, special events, that nature. Anywhere a physical security presence is needed.
Yeah, that's cool. And so how many territories do you have currently?
So currently I have 3, depends how you look at it. I have Tulsa, Oklahoma. We just signed for Springfield, Missouri, so we're currently launching that right now. And then I have Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. I bought the Kansas City, Kansas from existing when I had Missouri side. We merged it into one, but it has separate offices. So under the umbrella, it is one territory, but we kind of run it almost separate. It has different offices and everything, and the teams are separate there. So on paper, really 3, but I look at it as more of 4. We have it set up.
Yeah, interesting. So, and you live in Tulsa, right?
Yeah, I live in Tulsa. So about 4 hours from KC and then about 2.5 from Springfield. So not too bad, but definitely nothing I can just jump in a car and go to the office, and on some of those other markets. So.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to unpack this because I remember when we opened up our first franchise location in California, but we were living there, and then about 8 or 9 months later, we moved to Florida. And so, yeah, it wasn't just like I could hop on a plane, right, or just drive to the store. Like you're talking about a 5-hour plane flight, a 3-hour time change. How in the world do you manage essentially 3 different businesses with different geographic footprints?
Yeah, so it really just comes down to our processes we have in place that we built over the years. Our technology that Signal has. What I do for the business, I can pretty much do anywhere. We have a lot of things that are digital from our whole system that you see everything in. I mean, I can log into one portal and see everything about my business, from reports to payroll to billing to aging to everything, our KPIs. So having that advantage definitely helps out. But I think the second part of it really is having good teams in each of the markets and having a management team in each market that is really on board, and then just communicating with them throughout the day and setting those expectations. But I think that's really what it is. I started back in 2018. We used to have Little Rock when I sold that to expand more into Missouri. So that was kind of my first.
What was your mindset behind that?
It was, I saw way more opportunity in the KC market, Kansas City market. And this before I even had the Kansas side. And I had no idea of even buying the Kansas side at the time. I just saw a lot of opportunity in Kansas, Missouri. And not just where the drive, but it was from where I live in Tulsa. It was 4 hours opposite direction drive. So I felt my energy could be better used in that. And then about 2 months after I did that, I decided to also buy Kansas, but it was at least in the same area. So
nice.
But that's kind of where I started that whole, the 4 hours deal. And my mindset's within 4 hours, but even like you said before, even with 4 hours, I mean, just driving there, and if I want a day trip, I mean, it's 8 hours just of traveling just for a day trip. So it's definitely not the simplest thing. Got to rely on good teams and good processes. I think if any business, if you have processes in place and you follow them, then a lot of things can run smooth,
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people just want to wing it, or just, maybe don't want to follow the playbook, which is obviously key in a franchise business. So give us an idea of what does your team structure look like in each market? What's the kind of hierarchy? What did the team size look like? How many employees do you have? Kind of give us a breakdown of all those things.
Yeah, so currently we haven't fully launched in Springfield yet, so we really don't have anything there. But all in all, employees, not including contractors, because on the KC side, we have a lot of off-duty law enforcement that work for us that are contractors, that they're on our payroll. They work every week, but they're not technically employees. Employee size, we're just about a little over 100 employees altogether. And then from there, we have, in each market has director of operations. We have operations coordinator, it's like an operations manager. And then we have a recruiter that works for me, that works remote, that lives in Kansas City, but works for all my markets. And then we have a sales
full-time recruiter?
A recruiter, just a staffing recruiter.
Like a full-time?
Yeah, full-time, yep.
Wow.
And she works for all my markets. So she basically does everything from post our ads to screening, doing phone screens, and then actually sets up the interviews, puts it on the manager's calendar for that deal, sends them a kind of an update. And then she also processes them. Our first step of all of our onboarding is all digital before they even have to set in the office. So everything from the normal paperwork, they do all the digital. She handles all that. So by the time they actually come in our office for orientation, they're fully in our system and ready to actually learn about the job. Then we have a sales coordinator who is remote, or not remote, but lives in Tulsa, but works for, right now, travels for both my markets. We're actually about to hire another salesperson just for KC. And then in each office, we have an office manager. They handle everything from COI, just the daily orientation stuff as people come through, as a person to be in the office. And then we have supervisors. So we kind of break it into divisions. So we have patrol and then we have dedicated. So we have like a supervisor over patrol, and then we have a supervisor over a certain amount. We do a lot of Walmart, so we have like supervisor over our Walmart accounts. And they're working supervisors, so they work in the field, but then they have supervisor tasks on top of that. So it's kind of our.
How do you get a contract with a Walmart?
That is a very long process, and we learned Walmart's way or the highway. But that all started years ago when our CEO actually flew out to Bentonville, Arkansas, and met with their team, and slowly became a vendor for them. And now they reach out to us. They have regional people on their side that reach out to our team up in Omaha, and they send us, hey, here's what we need you to bid on. And we bid on it, and then we either get it or we don't. But very, very interesting. It's a major part of Signal's business altogether. It's a great partner.
My intention with this podcast is to help you build your empire. If you've gotten a single piece of value, one of the best ways you can help me and the podcast is to simply press the like button on YouTube. Lastly, share this podcast. Share it with someone who you know who is an empire builder. Imagine the impact you can have by helping them learn something that can build their business and empire. People will associate the value they got from this information from you, the person that shared it with them, all because you shared it with them. I appreciate you and your support. Let's get back to the episode. Yeah, I could imagine so.
They always pay on time, so that's great.
That's always a good sign. Man, that's crazy. So I mean, you and I connected briefly a week or a couple weeks ago. I didn't realize the scope and magnitude. I mean, I knew you owned a couple different markets, but 100 employees is no joke. That's a serious operation.
Yeah, we probably have another 25 in KC law enforcement officers under our staff.
Wow.
That work because we get law enforcement contracts that want off-duty police officers, so we contract with them for that.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so in a minute, I want to talk about with a team that big. I want to dive into what a day in the life for you looks like and kind of what your role is. But before we do that, how did you even get into? Let's talk about how you got into Signal, because I think it's interesting because you were in the military, and thank you for your service. And then you started working as an employee, right, for a franchisee. Then before becoming a franchisee, and now you have a huge operation. So how did take us back to how that happened, how you even found out about Signal and that evolution of then becoming an owner?
Yeah, definitely. So I started with Signal in 2011. It was the original Tulsa location. They were founded, I think, in Tulsa in 2010 is when they started. So one of the earlier franchises. They were franchised like 71 originally. The original Tulsa was. And it was just going to be a part-time job. I got off active duty. I was still in the reserves at the time as an instructor, and I was going to school full-time I was going to school to go my bachelor's degree to go into law enforcement because then where I live, you have to have a degree. And then I was working full time at another job, and for some reason, I wanted a part time job. I don't know why. Just didn't have enough on my plate. So I just randomly found Signal, I think, on Craigslist. That was back in the day when Craigslist is where you found jobs on Craigslist. And it was just meant to be a part time job. And back then, even in the security world, a lot of it's evolved then, but back then security was simply, beat up cars, a lot of paper reports. I mean, there was no technology really being used back then at all. Signal then we had technology, but it was nowhere near what we have today. And so that kind of intrigued me of the way it was, direction it was going, the process of it. Still at the time had no incline of ever owning, didn't even understand what a franchise was really. I mean, I knew what a franchise was, but didn't really understand the business side of the world, had no interest in it at all. And then over time, I just slowly learned more about the business. I kept promoting up to a supervisor and then to operations. And slowly, eventually, I could fully pass my buck on wanting to go into law enforcement and even change my degree to business management. And just kind of worked my way up through to director of operations for the Tulsa market. And then finally, probably about 2017, I started really wanting aspirations of wanting to own one day. And then at the time, 2018, I partnered with the local Tulsa owner that I worked with, and we opened Little Rock in 2018. And that was my first kind of taste of ownership then.
Wow.
And then 2021, I bought the rest of Little Rock out and all of Tulsa out. So I had two. That was my first time having two locations at that time.
So this is super interesting because there's so many, like you've practiced what you preached in the sense of there's so many people that want to go out there and become a successful business owner or franchisee. And they're like, how can I make the most amount of money by putting in the least possible effort, right? Or, they're just looking for what can make me the most money. And it's, to me, what's interesting and what I find so often to be the case is the folks that I talk to that have some of the most successful businesses or the biggest businesses, they're in it for the love of the game. And so what I'm hearing is, it's not like you just went out there and you were like, what franchise can I get involved with that will allow me to be, passive and, be able to sit in an office and do my work and have this huge business. Like you went out and pretty much started at the bottom in the business, worked your way up the ranks, and then eventually became an owner and scaled from there. So I just wanted to point that out because I think it's the opposite of how a lot of people think,
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like you said. I mean, even before I even had ownership agreement, I fell in love with the company and our mission, our core values, and all that. So I bought into the mission before I even had aspirations of even owning a franchise. So by the time I owned one, I think I was able to see a lot quicker and grow because I knew everything about the business. I worked in it. I grew up with the business, and but I actually had passion for it. It just, like you said, I just wasn't looking for a paycheck, and the job. I actually fell in love with the business and the actual core mission of what we were doing.
Yeah. And so, you mentioned that, okay, you were in school studying law enforcement because your plan was to go into law enforcement after the military, not be a franchise owner of a Signal security franchise, or even be an operations director and work there full time. So explain to me that mental transition as you're now going to school, you've got your mission, your sights set on being in law enforcement. How does that start to change mentally where you're like, hey, actually, I think I want to keep pursuing this career. And then at some point going, now I'm going to switch to business because I think I want to own a business one day. So take me through kind of that mental process.
I mean, I think it was really, I give a lot of credit to Signal on that because I just kept seeing the different opportunities, and I started, one big thing I think it's all probably good about any good franchise is usually the network. Usually I think any successful franchise is a franchisee network, obviously the franchisor is always going to be great, but I think any successful franchise has to have a good network where you can lean on those other franchisors and their or franchisees and their employees and key employees and everything. And so I think that was a big shift to it. We have convention, we have our trainings that we go to, regional training, annual training, different like that. We're heavily engaged. The network, even from our regular key employees, can be heavily engaged with other owners, with other directors, their peers and everything. So I think that was a major shift. Really, is to be so engaged with them and get to interact with them and see what their goals are and what their inner life looks like, and it just thought, hey, that's a lot better of a lifestyle. And then also the way the world was going towards law enforcement, it was a different aspect of, it's like, do I really want to do that job, or do I want to potentially do this job and have just a way better lifestyle and fulfilling mission,
Yeah.
So, but I really think it's just going back to that network of other people that you're exposed to within the franchise.
Yeah, I think that's one of the secret weapons of a franchise system. It's just it's kind of that corny phrase that people say. I think people say it a lot in the network marketing business, which is you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. But I do think that's the cool part of a franchise system. There's literally potential, depending upon the franchise system, 50, 100, 200, 300 different people that are literally operating the same exact business as you, that you can talk to and find out what they're doing and how they're overcoming challenges. And it's, I think it really, in the right system, it can become like a family, right?
It is. Our group today, we have also interact with a lot of people, but there's probably a group of about 15 of us that are really close. We go on trips together outside of, outside of convention. We're going to, a big group of us are going to the franchise conference here in Vegas in a couple weeks. It's for multi-owner franchise owners.
Yeah, the multi-unit conference. Yeah.
Yep. So we're all going to, there's a group of us going that together. So, we're definitely, we meet outside of signal events just to grow and, build each other's business up, or everybody's a phone call away. If I have a question like, hey, how do I need to do this? Or I'm looking to make this change. We're looking at a certain key overnight position that's kind of like an operation manager, but overnight monitoring a lot of our systems. And a lot of our people in our market that I work with have already done that. So obviously when I decided to do that, I didn't have to, reinvent the wheel. I just reached out to a couple of other owners and said, hey, we're looking to do this. How do you do this? Oh, hey, I'm going to fly down to your market and actually watch you do that,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's working together a lot easier, and everybody's wanting to help each other out because we're all in the same business together,
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast episode so far. One of the most consistent things that we hear from people that reach out to us is that buying a franchise feels really confusing. There's so many options out there. It's a scary decision. They don't know how to vet or do the due diligence or really narrow down on the right franchise for them, and then they really feel alone in the process. You might be the only one in your family who's ever pursued buying a franchise or being an entrepreneur, or maybe you've tried to start a side hustle before, or other businesses like me. Like before franchising, I was not able to crack the code on entrepreneurship. I'd like to invite you to reach out and work with us. We've helped many clients buy franchises, get them profitable, or buy resale businesses that are thriving. Talking about highly profitable resales, great value. We've allowed many of our clients to actually quit their job right away and replace their income immediately. So if you want to work with me and my team on finding or buying a franchise, doing due diligence, vetting it, or resale, then go ahead and go to tarzjohnson.com/consulting. And we're happy to see if we can help. All right, enjoy the rest of the episode. Yeah, I'm curious that there's that phrase that birds of a feather flock together. That group of 15 of you or so, like on average, how successful is the franchisee, or do you guys have like similar kind of size businesses or in terms of success?
They're probably all some of the top people. One of the guy, he has a 2 top revenue deal, but yeah, they're all multi 7 figures and above locations. All of them have, and I think all of them, yeah, pretty much all of them except for one has multiple locations too. So it's kind of where your network is, your net worth.
And have you seen like maybe guys or whoever, whether they're gals or other owners in the group, start coming in, hanging out with you guys, and then all of a sudden their business starts to grow because of like the network? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I think I grew my goals and my business just by being around that group, because I'm able to sponge off of what they're doing, and I trade ideas back to them, and they give me ideas, and I'm able to use that to grow my business. So me personally, I've seen that with myself, but yeah, other people as they come into our inner circle, as we call it, definitely be able to help each other out.
Yeah, it is so cool having that. I have a couple of buddies that have businesses and just in even different arenas. That's even cooler, just running the same business and just being able to go, hey, how do you do X? How do you handle this in your business? And I do it this way and blah blah blah. It's like, oh, okay. Something that may, have kept me stuck for weeks, trying to figure it out. I just get a quick answer, which is awesome. So I'm curious, kind of rewinding a little bit. What was that? So you were working for the Tulsa franchisee, and then you guys decided to go and partner in a different market first, not even the current one that you were working for that owner in. What was that conversation like, and how did you guys like negotiate and structure that deal and arrangement?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was more of a conversation. They kind of knew that I was getting to a point where I was kind of topping out where I was, there wasn't really much room to grow for myself personally. I mean, the business is going to continue to grow, but it was going to be a slower growth because it's also a small market. So I think they kind of saw that right in the wall, and they knew by then that I had aspirations to own a franchise, and they were wanting to grow. So that's kind of how that conversation started. And then the structure was more of a vested deal. So where I was originally supposed to commit X amount of years, get X amount of percentage for those years, and then be fully vested, and have ownership. But it was pretty a 5-year deal. It lasted about 3 years before I just bought it all out. So,
and that was for the Little Rock market?
Yeah, Little Rock market. And then so Tulsa, so I bought the rest of that Little Rock at the same time that I bought all of Tulsa, and that was March 2021.
So how did that work? You were working in the Tulsa market, partnered with them for the Little Rock market. How far is Little Rock from Tulsa?
4 hours.
4 hours. So were you just constantly going back and forth at that point?
Yeah. And by then it was almost the same thing. By then we had processes set up, we had good team members set up here. So I was able to rely a lot on our team here to where I didn't need to market every day. And in Little Rock, it was like ground zero. We were starting from scratch. I mean, I was out doing sales in the day. I was doing some work at night, working a shift, very little sleep.
How many hours a week or so do you think you were working back then when you first started out as an owner?
I would say until we finally got some staff and everything, I would say at least probably 80 hours a week.
80 hours a week.
Yeah.
How many hours a week do you work now?
Actual work, probably 30. so I mean, my work is just like hit miss now, and I can do it from anywhere. I mean, I'll travel and go to town, and my lifestyle's a lot different now of how I can grow. But we're about to start Springfield, so I'll kind of hit the switch and do it over again with some people, and then probably another couple of years buy another market and do it again.
So cool. I love it.
To enjoy the downtime for a little bit, then uptime, So, but yeah, on average, I mean, probably 30, 35. I mean, I'm in and out of the office all the time. I try to interact with more of our team now these days than anything, a lot of what I do is behind the scenes stuff, like the boring stuff, dealing with the accounting and all the legal stuff, and just looking at our KPIs, setting goals. I'm more of the visionary, for our business, and look what our long-term vision is, and then giving any support I can to our team to get them there. And that's also what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to build our team up now, to where they can grow. My director and of my KC market has been with me 5 years. My director of my Tulsa market has been with me 9 years. They both started in Tulsa as part-time officers. And with the Springfield deal, they both have been given vested ownership in that deal. So in 3 years, they'll be owner.
Wow.
So, and they'll have the same mission that they started as a part-time officer and work their way up through the company to ownership. So,
Man, that's so cool. Sounds like you're doing it the right way and have people staying that long and then have a sense of ownership. They're gonna show up so much more differently than if someone was just kind of a normal employee.
yeah, I mean, it definitely gives that, and we try to look for that. Even an entry level officer, we always try to look for people that are career mindseted. Even if they don't want to be here forever, we tell them like, hey, we want you to be career mindset. That way, you'll give it all, and then if you leave down the road, you leave. But that way, you're not just treating this like a job while you're here. But we also tell people at the same time, we have all these options to grow from our business. If you want to make this career, you put in the work, we can do different things, whether it's operations manager, you can go into sales, you can go into client relations, you can go into ownership, you can go work at our home office. And then also being a franchise and working well with our other owners, if someone moves and they're a good employee to me, it's just one phone. It's not necessarily transfer, but it's a phone call to that owner and saying, hey, this guy's great. Can you get him something, and they can move anywhere and have a job somewhere lined up just by a phone call.
Yeah. So how do you structure, with 3 territories sort of for, as you were saying, in different markets, how do you structure that? Do you have different entities for all of them? How do you operate?
Yeah, so everything we kept everything as different entities just because that way if I ever want to sell one, I'll see that makes it a lot easier if I want to sell one off, or if something happens legal wise, one's not affected. So they all have their own separate entities, and then I have a management company that I own that I pay myself out of the management company, and then everybody that works for all of my markets, so like a recruiter or sales guy, things of that nature, they get paid out of the management company, and then the each entity pays the management company a fee every 2 weeks.
Interesting. So why I've heard people talk about that structure, especially folks that have really sizable operations. There was a guy I had on the podcast, him and his family owned over 30 Sonic locations, and they owned like the real estate, and they had a similar structure, and some of them owned stores outright, some of them owned pieces and part. It was a pretty complex setup, it sounded like. But what's the benefit, and why do you have a management company, and why do you have them set up?
The first benefit is we have people that do things for multiple markets, like a recruiter or sales guy, things like that. So before we just started the management company, they'd have to get paid by one location. So it really wasn't kind of balancing out. They were doing work for multiple locations, but then they're only getting paid from one location. So the books weren't evening it out. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it, as we continue to grow Signal, when we've talked to the home office, and we think there's going to be opportunities in the future to where you're going to have like some absence owners that don't want to be involved as much. Well, think about that. If I have a recruiter, a sales team, an operations team, admin team, all in a managed company, they can hire my management company. They're already heavily involved in that Signal. They know everything about Signal anyways. Now they just have one more location to support.
Oh, so like a franchisee can hire your management company.
Yeah. To run their franchise for them. They can have also they would still have like a local operations coordinator, but they can hire a management company and we can handle recruiting for them. We can handle sales. We can have a executive that can overlook their people and set goals for them to make sure they're growing. And so someone can essentially be an absent owner for a Signal market and just hire us, whether it be a set fee, a percentage or whatever. So we've talked about that being some opportunities in the future that we see. So.
Interesting. That's fascinating, man. You have a really cool business set up. So how do you manage it all? I mean, I know you have all these layers of managers and operations directors that you're mentioning. How do you keep it all organized? How do you track the metrics? Like, how do you keep it all? How do you stay sane with that many moving parts?
Yeah, so I think one part of it is the way our franchisor has set everything up, our home office. They've given us a lot of tools. We use iDashboard. Some of you have heard of that before.
No.
So that's how we track all of our KPIs. So they do all that for us. So we have 9 KPIs that get tracked. So we can go in there and see our aging. So iDashboards, we can go and see our aging report. We can go and see our daily deposits. We can go and see, we can track monthly revenue. We can look at our payroll, our overhead, our expenses. Like I said, our growth, our percentage growth, we can track ourselves against other markets and other owners and everything too. So having access to that really, they track a lot of stuff for us. So then it's just basically setting goals around that and teach our team to look at that. And then we used to have weekly meetings. We used to follow the traction model and have the weekly meetings, and honestly, but we got to a point where sometimes we're just meeting to meet, and I think that's the old days of just having meetings, just because. So now we've got it down to each of my directors send me a template report once a week, and it's got everything I need to know about the business on it. And then if I have questions, I ask them, and then we do once a month actual sit down. And that's more, the sit down is more to go over our KPIs, where we are. So when our KPIs get released, we have end of year goals for each KPI. So we're just making sure we're trending towards that goal. But that cut out a lot of time, because before we were just meeting, it was an hour of everybody's day for each market. And it was just like, oh, here's an update on this, here's an update on this. I'm like, none of us need to be here. This can be an email. So we've got it really down to a pack where it's just a simple email. And if I have a question, and there's a section on there that if they need anything from me or need me to make a decision, there's a section on there for that. And then I just respond back or give them a call. So that's cleared up a lot of our time and kept us on pace and everything.
I love it. Yeah, that just sparked a couple of ideas, because recently in our team, we kind of started to hit that challenge where maybe too many meetings are happening here, and we bumped a weekly meeting actually to bi-weekly. And I wonder if at some point actually it makes sense just to switch it to a monthly meeting as well. That's a good point, because it's like at some point you're just like, all right, and this hour meeting possibly could be a half an hour. This 98-minute meeting could be an hour, or
And that's what it was. I mean, everybody's blocking their calendar off every week for an hour, and we were going there. It wasn't even taking an hour, but we've already blocked it off. So we were missing the important other things that we could be doing, during that time. And it was just basically updates. I mean, it was good information, but it's stuff that we realized. It's like one day I was like, why can't this just be an email? Let's build a template for it and just be an email. And if I have a question, I'll ask a question. So
yeah.
And also it makes it easier, especially if I'm traveling, and that was another thing we'd have to change to a Zoom if I was traveling. Now if it's email, I can be anywhere and just respond to it. So
yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face in the business or yeah?
I would say, probably anybody these days is staffing. So our industry as a whole, no matter where it is, it's all licensed. So you have to have a private security license in Oklahoma. You have to have one in Kansas City, Missouri. It's really easy to get. So anybody can get the license. Anybody can get the license to become a company too. It's super easy. So what happens with that is you just get people that are just looking for that paycheck, that job, and we'll get flooded with applications. But one, we try to have a higher standard than anybody in our industry, because there's companies in our industry that just hire warm bodies, So just really trying to find the people that are actually in it for the right reasons, not just in it for a paycheck. They're going to represent our brand well. They're going to take care of our clients, We got there and we promised them stuff, and we know that we have the tools to give them everything we promised, but it relies on that human capital, And I think that's our biggest challenges as we continue growing. Fearing, I guess, are we going to continue to hire at the rate we need to hire to continue growing? Because we're a people business in the day. Everybody every time we grow outside of patrol or something like that, we got to hire more people. And we know we can hire people. It's about finding the right people. And then as we continue growing, finding people that do want to grow in the business, things like that, because we try to avoid as much as possible from hiring one from the outside. I always want to promote from within the side when possible to give that growth opportunity to people, so they're not feeling stuck.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you guys do in your hiring process, or how do you benchmark for some of those things that you're looking for? Obviously, you're not going to get perfect all the time, but
I think it's more just we try to also we have the basic screening stuff, when our recruiter does all the interviews, well, the basic questions, so we get all that. And then the in-person interviews are more for we're just trying to learn about that person character. We don't really even care about experience. Private security can be taught, most of the customer service anyways. So we're trying to judge and get to know them on a personal level about more of their characteristics and things of that nature.
And how do you do that? Is that through just specific questions, or is it different every time?
There's some questions, but we really try to almost like this. We try to turn into a conversations. We try to a while back, just like everything, we always evolve our things. A while back, we just had these generic questions that we'd ask them or a form they fill out. But I told them like get rid of all that. Like when you interview someone, all the basic stuff's already been answered. You already seen that what their hours are available, that they're okay with the pay, that when they can start. You've already seen all that. So we train our team now to more like have just a conversation with them when they come in, get to know them, get to know what they like, why they want to work in this company, why they want to work in security. Security is not it's not like a high end glamorous job. It's usually a stepping stone. People want to go in law enforcement, or people just like it because they like to protect people, But people get spit on our job. We get yelled at a lot. We get shot at. We were at the Kansas City parade when that happened.
Oh wow!
We were down there working that. We were working the parade when the shooting happened. So we try to figure out more about the individual and why they want to work for us. Why not other companies? Why private security? We try to find out about their family, things like that. So we try to get them to know them on a more personal level. That way we can try to understand the characters. Also, you get those professional interviewers that still say everything right and they slip through the cracks. So
yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you, how like what are some of the red flags when you know not to hire someone? Like what are some of those things that come out in those interviews?
I think if they talk about if they talk about security too much, we've seen that if they think it's all about security and all about prep, they use a lot of like tactical words and stuff like that. That's always been a red flag to us because obviously we want to be that approachable company, but or if they don't make eye contact a lot, because we're in a very approachable business, so you have to be able to talk to people. So if they're not open communicating, they're just very looking down. We've had people come in and just kind of look down, and the whole time doing interviews, like, hey, you're probably not the best. If you can't talk to me in this situation, how are you going to make contact with strangers? That you have to start that conversation. So we just look for that personality and make sure they're really a people person.
Yeah. Imagine that. Yeah, that's cool.
All we want. We just want that person.
Yeah. And so as you've grown and scaled and you go and buy different markets and expand, what does that look like on how you kind of fund or do that from a capital perspective, or even when you go out and buy out the Tulsa market after you worked for them? Is that something where you're getting an SBA loan, you're getting seller financing? How are you structuring that?
So as far as the new locations, our home office works with people a lot. And they work with you more if you're an existing owner. There's a lot of internal financing they'll actually do internally for you in our home office. They'll finance a lot of stuff with RBT payments, so revenue-based territory payments, where it's you're paying whatever that cost is, you're paying it back as a percentage of your business. So if you're doing anything in the home office, generally you can do something like that. And then buying directly from other people, it's working out other deals, usually a down payment. Like when I bought the Kansas market, or the Missouri side, that was from existing owner. I basically just did a down payment with him, and then I did an internal one-on-one deal with him where I'm just paying him directly a monthly payment, a set payment for X amount of months with a down payment.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So nothing too complicated.
No, I think the home office has really worked around, because the home office, obviously, they can make they can make that one-time territory money, but their real thing is off royalties, like anything else, And also, the quicker you can come into business and grow, the more royalties they're going to get. The bigger they grow, the bigger the network grows as a whole. So they've done a lot where they help you get your foot in the door. We have our own dealership now, because we use vehicles a lot for what we do, and they're all wrapped up and they have light bars on them. They've actually opened up their own dealership at our home office where they'll have vehicles ready and wrapped for you. They help with financing of that. They've got different bank partners or we put out one credit app a year, or I think it's like every 6 months now. And I email and say, hey, I just need this vehicle. Within a day, I have, in my inbox, I have paperwork from the bank to digitally sign, and I have a vehicle sitting in my parking lot within 2 weeks, fully wrapped.
Wow.
With no money down or anything. So
How many vehicles do you have?
So right now I have about 27 vehicles.
Wow. In all the different markets.
Yeah. So, and that's something over the past 2 years, the home office has added. And I think that's one thing major about our brand is all the assets the home office has added to help us grow. They opened a dispatch center years ago to where we have our own in-house dispatch center. There are signal employees. Before that, we'd have to either use a third party or have officers answer cell phones in the middle of the night. But we have a dispatch service now that operates 24/7 that we can forward our calls to, and then they send them through our technology to us. So for calls in the field, they send all that to us. We have a sales team that will help our team do sales. We have regional support. We have operations team that will come down and do training for our people. They host training. We have a dealership service. We have our own. We just started this last year, but we have our own actual fulfillment center. We buy all of our uniforms and marketing stuff from them directly, and they ship them within like a day or two to us, and all that's set up internally. So they've even actually recently done our work comp and GL in-house and auto. So all of that stuff's in-house where we get all of our insurance for really low rates. So a lot of benefits, and I think that's also like anything with franchises. There's a lot of benefits with franchising.
Yeah. Do you think that if you had went in just either you were working for an independent security company and then tried to start your own thing, like you think you would have been able to build what you built just doing it all on your own?
No, I definitely wouldn't have, because I wouldn't have had the support, both financially, but also I wouldn't have the support to grow, whether that be from the other owners or from the home office itself. From the training we go to, the conventions, to just the different training they put out for our team and resource they put out for our team and access to everything. I think the franchises made it to where I could scale. I could probably have one successful location on my own, but I wouldn't be able to scale multi-market scale at all.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I could see that. Well, congratulations on all your success. I think what an incredible story to, have been in the military. We didn't even talk about the fact that, you had done tours in Iraq and, some of that time there, and then to go and start working part-time in this security franchise, and then rise up the ranks there, and then eventually own it, now own different markets, now have a business with 100 employees. It's just, man, that's really awesome what you built. So congratulations, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's been a journey. And my goal now this day is obviously just to continue to build our team up. I've been able to retire both my parents, because of franchise ownership. So I retired both them last year. So that was kind of cool. That was a goal of mine, but because grew so much, I was able to do it a lot faster. So I was able to retire them. I've been able to, also continue to grow our team up and put ownership in their mirror. And then I think the other biggest part about it is just be able to the time, but then also the extra resources financially that it's allowed me to have to be able to give back to our community. We donate a lot to local charities and things of that nature. I think that's been the really cool package, just be able to give back to the community, that we support and everything. So, and that's all possible because of not just business ownership, but franchise ownership that allows me to both be financially stable enough to do that and have the freedom to go where I want, when I want, kind of deal. So I think by this time I'm unemployable, I think now. Hopefully I can ever get a job somewhere. So.
Sounds like it. Yeah. Yeah, because at some point, if you wanted to, you could just sell it all too, and then have a cool exit. I'm curious what you think. I'm sure you see and talk to owners that are in the same system, have access to the same resources, but aren't as successful as you or some of the other folks in your group. What's the difference? What do you see as the difference between the franchisees that succeed and win and crush it between the ones who don't?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And our thing with, I think we have over 200 operating. We're in 48 states, 4 countries now. And there's plenty, unfortunately, of people that have been around for a while and that haven't even hit the 7-figure mark, that 1 million mark, or anything. And they've been around longer, as owners longer than I've been around as an owner or just long as an employee. But what I think is a lot, and even what our CEO, the home office talks about a lot, is just being involved. I think being involved in the network, getting to lean on the home office support, and then also lean on the your other colleagues out there, other franchise owners. So being involved, and then also just following the process. I've seen a lot of people go off the grid, a lot of try to do their own thing or try to do different ways, or not understanding how to build a proposal. And there's a lot of resource for that. I mean, we have a pricing calculator where you can put in all your costs and you can actually see what your net profit will be, and build your business off that. And we have a lot of people that just don't follow those things. Our dashboard, they track how many people log into the dashboard and which parts of the dashboard they log into. And there's countless times I've been told by people at the home office, there's a nice percentage of people that never even log into the dashboard to look at their KPIs. So they're not really, because I think what it is you get those people that almost, they got it because they just wanted a job. And, they get to that $1 million mark and they're making, 15% and it's nice, comfortable business, easy to run with no headache. And they're making 6 figures for the first time in their life and they're happy. They don't want to grow. So, but yeah, there's plenty of people like that, but I think those people will eventually in our market, at least in our industry and our franchise model, those people are eventually going to be bought out and gone away, because our goal is to be the largest security company in the world. And I think we're at number 8 right now. And we've only been around since technically 2003, really franchised in 2008. If you look at our competitors, they've been around for hundreds of years and we're already number 8. So, to get to there, we're going to need those people that are going to have to be part of the system. And I think it's just, find the right people. But I mean, it's like employees. I mean, we find those owners that are, say they want to be involved, but then don't want to put the work in, or they get comfortable once they get to a certain point and then they don't want to grow beyond that. Yeah.
So if a franchise owner hit you up right now, whether in Signal or in another brand or system, and said, hey, I got, maybe 1 or 2 territories, locations. I'm looking to grow. I'm kind of stuck working in my business. Like what advice would you give someone who wants to build, their franchise empire?
I would say invest in your team. That was the thing that I think helped me grow. The original Tulsa owner really invested in me. I mean, she would send me to other markets to learn about what other franchise locations were doing at the time. Like if I wanted to learn operations, we were like, okay, who's the best in operations? Or if I wanted to learn sales, who is the best sales team? And they would send me to those locations or enroll me in other training, things like that. And that helped me grow. And that's what I feel I'm doing now. And that's what I think some of our best owners out there in our area are doing, is they're investing in their team. Because as you get bigger, it's harder to, especially if you have multiple markets, you can't be everywhere at once. I can't be on every call. I can't be on every email. I can't be in every meeting. So I need those people that I can trust to be in there. And I don't think you can do that right unless you invest in them. And also you're going to get, the buyback in from them if you're investing in them and giving them support,
Yeah, definitely. Cool, man. Mike, well, thanks for coming on. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I think your story's fascinating. I admire what you've done and what you've built. It's really, really cool. And of course, you're a great ambassador for the brand and just entrepreneurship and franchise ownership in general. So just appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to just talk.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been fun, and definitely I've enjoyed listening to your other podcasts and everything. And that's probably what I do more on the way to when I'm traveling my other locations. I listen to business podcasts, so, and especially a lot of franchise ones. So
yeah, awesome, man. Cool. Well, have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. You too. Thank you.
Hey, before we go, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. And the biggest thank you that you could ever give me is to share this episode with someone who you think will benefit. That means that we can share this message with more people and hopefully positively inspire them like we have you. So thank you. And until next time, go build your empire.